So looking at the first question, the first thing that comes to my mind is what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about social justice and inclusion. Um, so how can I make, and what are my reasons? Because I want the world to be a better place. I want everybody to have equal opportunities. I want to promote critical thinking so that people just don't accept the student, like starting with the students that I have, or and I want to also help work with other colleagues to understand this and share and exchange ideas on this, so that maybe I can influence my colleagues, or they can influence me, and we can help we can help our students to promote critical thinking, to basically break the norms that are failing the system. So I want to do that. Like, it's sort of like being a little um, activist, but like hidden, not like in the front line.
Well, one of the things that we talk about when we're talking about this kind of research is that you have to keep it doable. So, and the example I always give is I'd like to end child poverty in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not something that I have the capacity to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what part of my world can I do? What can I do to help contribute to that? And so, when I was working, I started early childhood early childhood learning centers that moms could come with their kids and get free advice and support and connections with agencies. And that actually has evolved over the years. And now there are certainly government centers. But when I started, it was just local people, active to make a better place for kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that I did specifically that obviously had great benefit for kids and families. And I mean, ultimately for society. But that was all preschool. So when you say you'd like to be an activist in realms of social justice and inclusion and integration, so can you think of something in your practice that you could do that would improve your capacity to do that?
I mean, I think I can do it in terms of um, making uh, courses, developing courses. I'm actually working on a course right now. So this was inspired through, well, I was doing through the action research course that I was doing. Um, I was invited for an interview at the college that I'm working now, George Brown, and they asked me to prepare something to teach research to students, research skills. So I don't have the exact question here right now, but it was about teaching students to do research. And I, at that time, I called Judy, help. I'd never taught that before. And I didn't even, like, that has never been part of like teaching those kinds of skills, was never part of an ESL program. And in fact, I spoke to one of my colleagues who was a full-time faculty at the time. Well, he still is a full-time faculty. So at the time, the college hadn't gone online. And so it was the last week or two before everything got shut down. And I asked him, um, so I've been asked this, so privately, and I said, I've been asked to do this, and I've been invited to do an interview next week. I have 5 days left, or 6 days left. I can't remember how many days it was, but I've never done this before, to be honest, but I'm just curious to know, um, do you teach this here at all, at any level? And he said, well, he said, no, but maybe they're asking you to see if you can do it. So so now what I'm doing is, I mean, I started working on that with Judy. Like I did something, I sent it to Judy, and she gave me some feedback, and we went back and forth, and then it stopped because they, like, a day or two before the actual interview, I got an email. Maybe it was 2 days before the interview. I got an email to say that my interview is going to be postponed until further notice, and the college shut down. So now I thought, okay, so I am actually going to work on that, because it was to create one module and do a presentation, a 15-minute presentation to a panel, to say how I would go about doing this, to teach this module. Now I am actually developing it, and I've started working on it. So I had 2 months off. So some of the time that I had, I spent on this. And I also took some courses for curriculum development. So how to make courses, how to design courses, how, and based on outcomes. So, and how to present it. So based on that formula, so now I'm working backwards, because at that time I created my lesson plan.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm working backwards from that. So backwards from that, what am I presenting to introduce my course? So here's the module. Here's what you're going to learn. Here are the outcomes of this module. And then I'm working on expanding the modules. So it's at its early stages, but I think, you know, and once I finish working on this, I plan to propose it.
Okay.
So
who's the audience for this course?
the audience will be, they can be advanced ESL students. That would be slightly different. And they can also be college students taking an elective as part of their program.
And is it like a first year, second year?
It would, yeah, I mean, it can be a first year, because if it's an ESL advanced course, it can be a first year elective as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds very exciting, really. I certainly can give you lots of examples of modules like what you're creating, so you could draw from them.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and in this module, like I'm working on, the content that I'm using is based on stories of real people. So one article that I found online at the time was about Julian, who was born with a physical problem. She was born without a vagina, and she was telling the BBC. So this is a BBC article. So the interviewer, of her experience of how she went through life having this difficulty.
Wow.
And it's an illness. So it's categorized as a disease or an illness. Like, it's got a name. It's got a very long name. And so in that story, it shows how like, the readers can see how she was seen and observed and treated by others. So, and this is a real story about a real person. So this is what I can do. And I think that it will influence people, like, without telling them anything, inviting them to critically think about things, and inviting them to look at her situation, individual situations, and invite people to think critically about what have they done wrong, or
Or to ask them what are their stories, what are,
or yeah,
I mean, I'm sure that every one of those ESL students has a fabulous story to tell, you know,
yes.
that would influence others and help others to be more understanding and kind and thoughtful and respectful.
Yeah, on that note, last session, I invited my students to do this. We have a book that they have to read. I'm teaching a level 4 right now, English for academic purposes. So they have a book to read. It's called The Clear Out. So this is a novel, very informal language. It's written in informal language, but in the story, which is like a very short, small part of it. This is a sideline. It's not the main story. It talks about the main story is about a husband and a wife, but the wife dies because of cancer, and it shows initially their arguments and how uh, they lived together and their habits and what they wanted to change and their problems. But then when the wife dies, the husband is so upset with everything and so frustrated, and he gives all her books away because she was spending time. She just wanted to read books by the end because she was fed up with her life. Anyway, so she gives this. He gives all her books away to a thrift store, and this thrift store was the salesperson there was a gay person in a wheelchair that had lost his husband because people attacked them on the street. So this was just in like a 2 sentence or one paragraph of the story
Mm.
that explained, oh, we got out and we got beaten up and he didn't survive it. And that was it. But the rest of the story is all about Duncan and Tess and the book and their story and their family. But it also connects with Duncan and the thrift store guy. Um, but about his husband, that's never mentioned again, and that's the end of that. So I actually brought that up in conversation, and I just actually asked them to write about why did uh, Kevin, his name was Kevin, Kevin's husband die? Because some of them like some of them didn't understand it to begin with, and then when we all accepted and agreed and that how he died and what happened, then I invited everyone to write something about, and we had discussions about this as well. Why did he okay did he do anything wrong? And then what so they're learning should, for example, what should people do in this situation? What would you do? What would you advise? What do you want to say to the people that did this to him? And then I brought in the conversation to about you. Have you ever been treated differently? Do you have a story to share? And some of them got really into it. So, but because we don't have a lot of time, this is a very intensive course, and we don't have a lot of time. I couldn't expand on it, but 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 I felt yeah, I felt a sense of satisfaction that I'd done a little bit there. Like I felt like they got engaged, and some of them shared their stories, and it wasn't just okay, what happened in the book? Answer this question, answer that question. So it got them to think critically about the situation. But yes, so I totally agree with you, to ask them and invite them to share their own stories because it makes it a lot more relevant.
And it builds a sense of community within the group, that they recognize that others have had struggles like them, that, there are some commonly held values amongst the group because people, have had challenges that have, so I would assume it certainly made them stronger because here they are, having emigrated and having the opportunity to learn another language. And oh, did I lose you?
Oh no, did you lose me? What did I do? Am I still there?
You're there, but now I'm seeing myself.
Oh,
What's the setting here?
okay. Enter full screen. Okay, I'm just trying to. Oh no.
Share screen. Will that do it?
No. No, not share screen. Okay. I don't know what happened.
It's flipped so that I'm seeing my screen on here, and I'm not seeing you. Let me see if I just click on you. Do you come up? Because you're just in a circle on the top now.
Right. I was actually trying to. I was like that before, so I was trying to put our screens right beside each other.
Ah.
But I'm not sure if I've. Well, obviously, I've not succeeded in doing that. But float window. Oh no. Enter screen.
Window.
No, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe we can log in again. I don't know.
Okay. Do you want to do that? I'll hang up and we'll try again.
Okay.